And to be honest, this setup of the Tonkor and the Zephyr is insanely powerful. In fact, it's probably one of the most powerful in game at the minute. Verging on overpowered, some might say, but don't worry, the devs have seen it and said that they're absolutely fine with it, as it does take a lot of format to get both of these to this level of awesomeness. So there won't be any nerf inbound, thank God. And to be honest, that's one of the reasons that I haven't done a video on this yet, is simply because I didn't want it to be highlighted in case it did get nerfed. But thank God that's not going to happen.
That's where you're wrong, kiddo.
The next station will be Fortuna 69.
Ah, yes, the not at all awaited but expected sequel to this thing. One thing that I find highly interesting about DE is that a few years ago, this was their philosophy.
Bullet jumping was brought in a way to traverse the levels quicker because players really loved what they called coptering, which was the movement was tied to the slide of a weapon. So certain weapons were really good at this because they had a very quick transition time, so they would fling you across the level. And some of these guys got insanely good and could basically traverse some of the biggest tiles in the game in basically one swing. And I was like, well, it's kind of game breaking, but we love that they love the flow of that. So instead of just nerfing that and moving on and going, no, you can't do that, we kind of embraced it and brought it into the core gameplay, but in a more controllable way. And I think that's kind of been the philosophy, is like the community latches onto things for a certain reason. Instead of just smacking their hands saying, no, that's not my vision, it's like, how can we embrace that and how can we bring that into the game and not just remove it outright.
And now we come to the future, where Trinity's been beaten so many times that everyone who plays her has the legal right to sue for domestic abuse. Although DE is reverting the call or a nerf, what still leaves me annoyed to say the least is the fact that permanently changing a warframe because of a timed event is apparently a reasonable and not at all unusual thing to do. It's pretty fucking obvious that I have zero experience as a game developer, but why does it not occur to anyone at DE that not every problem is solved by pumping it full of nerf darts? Nerfing one thing does not resolve the problem. All it does is remove one thing that instigates the problem, which ultimately results in something else taking its place. For example, let's look at affinity farming. Go back and remember every single node that players have ever farmed in for affinity that DE has inevitably nerfed. If this list existing isn't obvious enough, the problem of players using one specific node to farm in isn't, has never, and will never be solved. What I find particularly infuriating is that this isn't the first time that DE nerfed something out of a pure knee-jerk reaction due to something that could be solved simply. For example, DE nerfed Ember's world on fire out of justification that she trivializes low-level content, quote-unquote, but given that Loki trivialized the entire game before Inaros and Nidus existed and yet Loki has literally never been nerfed in Warframe history, that comes across as confusing. Warframe is a looter-shooter, meaning that mowing down enemies is very commonplace. If a Warframe being too good at killing low-level enemies is reason enough for a nerf, which doesn't make any fucking sense because literally everything in the game is good at killing low-level enemies, then why is it that some Warframes such as Octavia and Inaros are allowed to be as overly powerful as they are? Why is it so problematic for Ember to press one button and be able to run around and kill enemies but not so for Octavia to just spam the crouch button for infinite invisibility? Let's also not forget last year when DE was considering nerfing that Slarkwing purely because everyone was using it for Blink. Again, I am not a game developer, but shouldn't it be pretty fucking obvious that if everyone is using Sl's Blink because it allows the player to have greater mobility while in Arcwing, then maybe the way to make other Arcwings more used is to just make Blink be a standard Arcwing maneuver? Considering that Warframe as a game is a bigger power fantasy than Dynasty Warriors, why exactly is it suddenly a big deal for DE to nerf things that supposedly trivialize the game? If balance is such a big deal, why is it that I can slap on Arcane Grace and Ultimatum onto Inaros and stay in survival for fucking hours on end, but the moment I bring along Kaura to the Scarlet Spear event so I can keep the defense objective healed up, DE turns around and says, no. It's highly questionable that trying to get DE to change virtually anything has become less of a discussion and more like a fight between two opposing parties.
All women are queens! If she breathes, she's a god!
because to be honest that's how it really feels. And yes, I know that the us versus them mentality is not a good thing, but honestly it doesn't help that DE has a fucking history of either doing the opposite of what players ask for or doing things halfway and throwing on their own little thing. There is of course a time and place to nerf stuff in the name of keeping things balanced, but that's not and it should never be the main choice taken in a game like Warframe, which allows the player to very easily be a powerhouse in the first place. However, whacking a Warframe with the nerf bat so readily as was done with Ka-Ura only signifies that DE is only considering how efficiently players are playing through content, not why. If DE really cared about making certain things such as the Scarlet Spear event actually have some semblance of being challenging, they either would have implemented something similar to Sanctuary Onslaught where using an ability too much gets it temporarily disabled, or they would have announced a temporary set of changes for every single Warframe, rather than just Kara and Limbo. My belief is that DE just nerfs things because it's the quickest and easiest way to quote-unquote fix something in the game. This is very idiotic because it only solves a problem on the surface, meaning that the players will just go look for something new to use. In the case of Kara and Limbo being nerfed, now players are turning to Gera and Frost as new alternatives. Otherwise, if DE actually cared about balancing Warframes and Scarlet Spear, they would have outright nerfed literally every single Warframe that has an ability that can affect or protect the defense objective. The tools of the player should never be fixed because they happen to be too good at their job. Every single Warframe has something good they can do, no matter how small. That's what makes every Warframe unique. Removing that because it suddenly does its job too well only signifies that whatever content it's being put through is designed poorly. Thank you for watching.